Okay guys, so we're back with Ben. This is actually day 2, but this would normally be day 1, right, for you guys?
Correct.
Because we spent a lot of time filming and talking the other day. So talk a little bit about what we're gonna do for a breakdown now, Ben.
Yeah, so for right now, we'll just go through a little swing analysis, educate you on what we're seeing here, figure out, for me, just what's noteworthy, and then we'll prioritize what we want to focus on based on improved contact, certainly managing our power output, and then managing the curve of the ball.
Okay.
So
the curve of the ball. I've got curve.
Yeah, we just want it to be repeatable, predictable, and we don't want to go in both directions without our command. So right now, slow-mo video analysis, face on and down the line. So what I'll do, Ken, is just sort of speak my mind. You don't need to try to remember everything.
Okay. I got a videotape, so I'm good.
We'll go through these positions, and then once we go through the analysis, we'll determine what we want to focus on today.
Perfect.
So one thing is, in terms of foot flare or external rotation of the foot, very neutral. So I would say roughly 5 degrees of foot flare with the lead foot, left foot, and about 0 to 5 with the trail foot. Okay, what we see on tour is an average of about 25 degrees of left foot flare and roughly 10 degrees of trail foot flare.
So when you say flare, you're saying they're opening that left foot.
Exactly. So essentially building in some external rotation.
Interesting.
Right. So pointing the foot out for your lead foot, call it 11 o'clock or so.
Yep.
Right. And what that does is that allows for more range of motion in the ankle, knee, and hip. Right. So those are flexion extension joints, ankle and knee. So what we want to do is build in some free rotation. Especially for you, we've got the lead side where we replace the hip. So we want to reduce as much strain as possible. That goes for you and everybody else, right? So foot flare is a big piece that is one of the easiest adjustments to make. It just requires some awareness and discipline on your part. A lot of good stuff. I would say at this point, I would love to see more space between the knees here, essentially incrementally changing flex in the knees. That also makes it easier to rotate and extend. And at this phase of your golf swing, I would expect to see a little more trail leg extension.
Straighter.
Yes, straighter, right? So what we see with the gears data, the 3D data, it shows us that the tour players are...
That's the thing with the bars through the body?
Yes.
Okay, I'll post, guys, you'll see that on the screen right there, but okay.
Yeah, so that's fascinating because it doesn't lie. It's measuring everything in 3D. In 2D, our eyes can be fooled, but 3D motion analysis is giving us every joint angle, and it's giving us data down to 0.2 millimeters. So if we're looking at trail knee, it's flexed roughly 20-25 degrees at address, and we reduce that flexion by about 10 or 15 degrees on average.
Okay.
So we'd like to see for you extending this trail side a little more in the backswing.
And that's creating tension, right?
Well, if we restrict the knees and the hips from moving, it puts a little more stress on the lumbar spine, right? Which we don't want. Jason Day's a great example of somebody who restricted the knees and the hips, and he was swinging at 120 plus miles an hour for a long time, and he was taught to do that, and eventually his back was just breaking down through injuries. So finally now he's working with Chris Como, and he's working hard on allowing that trail leg to straighten out a little more. Right, so he's not straightening it out entirely, but just allowing it to incrementally extend in the backswing is reducing some of the strain, and it's allowing him to access his normal range of motion without overutilizing other joints.
Okay.
So in your swing, Ken, a lot of good stuff. I like your posture here.
Should my back be straighter?
Not at all. You look like Jack Nicklaus in his heyday. He was pretty good.
He was also a little stronger than me.
So immediately I would say left foot flare needs to be addressed. I'm not really a big fan of your left arm structure here at address.
Hold on one sec, I may have to.
So Ken, I would want to see a little straighter left arm here. We can even align it with the handle, so I'll show you how to do that. There's some implications with where we set the handle at address. So we'll dive into how that affects the curve and the predetermined ball flight. You asked about the posture. I love it. So we want to be in some forward bend or flexion at address. in an effort to allow us to then extend or unweight, if you will, in the backswing. You do a great job. I mean, you move really well. You're getting sufficient hip turn here. There is a point here in the backswing where arms and hands overtake, shoulders and spine stop extending. So I'd like to see a little improvement there where you can maintain some width. And
that's when I feel crowded over the ball.
Yeah, you get a little narrow, right? So a lot of folks want to create a lot of hinge and lag, and oftentimes that's the opposite of what we ought to be doing. I think that comes from the Hogan pictures, and you know what's changed a lot since Hogan's days is the golf ball, and so we don't need to launch it as low as we used to. Golf balls changed the game more than anything, and changed the swing more than anything. So now you see your Dustin Johnsons and John Rahms and Colin Morikawas and Victor Hovland's with a different approach. All that being said, here in the downswing, a lot of good stuff. I like where you're at here in terms of unloading some of the lag. And as we work into impact here, sufficient hip slide, but at this stage, you start lining the club up a little early with this lead arm, and you stop side bending and rotating here. So you end up stalling your pivot, losing some of the posture that you had established. And so, you know, in the golf industry, the bad word here is early extension, and you have some of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but what happens in your case is we establish what we call this inline condition where the club and the arm form a straight line a little too soon. We like seeing this arm and club line up more in line with this left shoulder. Okay, so just
is this, I once heard Rory talking about that when they were analyzing his swing, they discovered right where that line you just showed me is, that's where his highest club head speed was.
Yeah, that would be delivering the energy and the speed just past the golf ball. So think of punching through a bag instead of at the bag.
And they said that, he said that's what was one of his great distance jumps, was when they got his club head speed at the ball versus behind the ball.
Yeah, I love that concept. And it's really counterintuitive because folks are focused on the golf ball. They don't want to miss the ball. And oftentimes everything is delivered to the golf ball. And in your case, a little before the ball, right? Whereas you see the experts delivering speed and energy past the golf ball, right? So this golf ball is literally just a passing point. We're really moving along the arc on both sides. And Will Zalatoris is a great example. You'll see his finish where he's fully extended with the spine. He may stop his swing short with the arms and the club, but his body is really powerfully moving and continuing to pivot post-impact. And this is where we see some deficiencies in your golf swing. You know, again, a lot of good stuff to the top, and then we line this club up a little too soon, which leads to some potential low point control issues. So when we see this club low early in the downswing, and again this club lining up with the arm, oftentimes we'll see some trouble with tight lies, or if we're trying to hit it out of the rough, it's a little more challenging to create enough of an angle of attack.
Yeah, I struggle with it a lot.
To make solid contact.
Funny you know that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hitting it off a tee or off of a fluffy lie, you can get away with it.
I can do it on a hard pan lie, but when I get in the rough, I really struggle.
Yeah, the rough is a challenge there. The other thing we see when this club head starts catching up to the handle too soon is we lose some of the club face stability, right? So basically, as this starts to pass the handle, we add more twist to the club face. And in your case, you'll see this left miss creep in. And then post-impact, what we really like seeing here is continuation of what we call vertical force. And you'll see here your knees stay buckled, they stay flexed. The belt buckle is not moving vertically anymore, so it's just kind of stagnant. And now the arms and the hands are just allowing the club to pass. Arms are kind of climbing up the chest here. Little roll of the forearms, so that club face is turning pretty fast, and you can even see it with your neck and your eyes. They're sort of staying buried here. So I'd love to see, if possible, a little more vertical force or extension from the ankle all the way up the spine. And what that'll do is allow us to command that club a little more when it's traveling 80, 90 miles an hour post-impact, allows us to command the face better. So you can almost think of a kettlebell swing. I wouldn't keep my chest and my knees flexed if I'm trying to move that kettlebell up in the air, right? We'll use that power from the ground up. And again, still here to a full finish. Both knees are completely flexed. So I want to see full extension here if possible.
Left leg straight?
Left leg straight, indeed.
That's it.
Yep. I'm going to pull up our swing model just to give you a visual demonstration.
By the way, guys, you heard Colin's voice in the first video.
Howdy.
He was there.
So here's just a comparison. You'll see the foot flare, substantial. This is Grant Waite, so he's Champions Tour player and also an instructor. So he's got a nice model golf swing. Mac O'Grady was an instructor of his, and so he applies some of these principles. But what he's doing here is moving really efficiently and again utilizing his joints in its normal range of motion. So that's why we like him as a model. So again, foot flare, roughly 30 degrees with the lead foot and approximately 20 with the trail. Left arm and club forming a straight line here at address. Jack Nicklaus is another model as an example at P1 or the address position. Some similarities with Grant and you in the backswing. So you've got a lot of good characteristics here. You stay really centered and level, which I like. But in this face-on view, what we'll see in the downswing here is a really big surf or downhill transition. And then he's lowering the arms here. And what we'll see as we scroll through is this club and arm does not line up until post-impact.
Oh, yeah, you can see, yeah.
Right, and so common misperception here is holding lag. He's not holding lag whatsoever. He's combining what we call linear and angular force, and that's matching up to a point where he's essentially lining this up again with that lead shoulder. Okay, and you can see here at this stage of the the downswing, his club's a little higher, and that club is not lined up with the arm quite yet. Now, as we go post-impact, watch this left knee straightening out. You'll see the belt buckle rising. You'll see the chest extending. You'll see the neck releasing. And now he's got more command of that club. Forearms aren't overtaking, so he's stabilizing the club face. Again, you can see the neck and the eyes. And here he is, posted up. Belt buckle's closest to the target. And he's completely transferred all that energy into that lead side.
Pretty golf swing.
He could just tap this right toe and he's good to go. All right. So down the line, what I want to show you here is primarily this right knee. So also you'll see he's in forward bend, reflection here at address. So he's not trying to straighten his back out or extend the lower spine. And as he works into the backswing, Ken, there's a lot of great details here, but primarily that right leg is incrementally extending into the top of the backswing. So he's utilizing these, the ability to extend on both sides of the arc, backswing and through swing. And again, for a visual demonstration, you'll see this knee. It's kind of hard to see it with pants on, but certainly you can see that that trail leg and the seam line here has extended, let's say 10 degrees or so. So this is pain-free, this is sustainable. Sam Snead's another great swing model who applied these same characteristics. And the beauty of him is he played really well for a long time and didn't battle injuries like some of our modern day golfers, Jason Day being that example. So there you go, that is that's a model golf swing, and there's certainly some pieces here that we'd like to incorporate into your swing.
Okay.
All right, any questions?
No, that's really interesting. I never realized, well, the foot or the back leg, the trail leg, I never realized either one of those was a challenge. But
yeah, there for a while, people were taught to keep that trail knee flexed, and it's still taught. We call it the restriction model. For some, it might be a good feel, but for most, it's inappropriate, and again, it forces us to overutilize other joints and puts too much strain on the lumbar spine unnecessarily. So for the guys, so we've had comments on the first video, for guys that are playing golf and do have lower back issues, this is something that might give them some relief? Yeah, and you know, it's subjective for everyone. Some folks need to extend the trail knee more than others. But what we do like to see is that incremental change in flex. So for some of our older folks, basically as we age, we lose the ability to flex and extend the spine. And so what we want to do is build in that extension so that we can lengthen the hand path and create enough speed to enjoy the game. Once our speed diminishes, we can't hit it as far offline. So what we want to do is maximize our distance. And in order to do that, in some cases, we'll have folks completely straighten out the right leg, because what that does, it builds in the hip turn, it builds in the hip slant, and then that allows us, kind of like an axeman, extending, getting the arms and the hands to travel on a bigger arc, and then that also allows for more downforce and transition, so we can create more speed.
Okay.
Here's your driver.
I didn't realize how far past parallel I was getting with the driver.
So yeah, again, a lot of good stuff here. You look like a golfer, dress like a golfer.
You got good shoes.
Again, we want to incorporate more foot flare here. You do a lot of good stuff here, Ken. So what I like seeing here is if you had a hat on, it would be slanting. And so that's the side bend in your golf swing. The side bend is necessary because that allows us to maintain an inclination to the ground. That golf ball is not airborne. And it's, look at that golf swing. I mean, that's classic. Looking like Johnny Miller here. Now you start peaking your verticals a little early with the driver.
There's that arm straight again.
Lines up just a little too soon, and you'll see the spine here is pretty vertical, so we've lost some of the stability in the axis of the spine. And again, when we do that, it leads to some volatility with the low point. And then let's see.
And when you say volatility at the low point, that can be hitting them fat, hitting them thin, struggling off the tee with height.
Yep.
With launch angle, because my launch angle is so low.
Indeed, heel to toe strikes.
Okay.
Yep. High, low, heel to toe, chunks, thins, all those misses are really a result of not managing the low point as effectively as we'd like. And again, that basically comes down to controlling the bottom of the arc. And once this lines up, we're kind of hoping for the best, right? So we're basically tossing out the club. And in essence, we're sort of throwing the club at the ball here, as opposed to commanding it with all our forces from the ground up. What's interesting with the driver, Ken, is you do straighten out the left leg here. You start creating a little more speed, and then you'll see here late in the through swing, you'll then reflex the knee. But being a longer club, naturally a bigger golf swing here, you actually are able to extend the knees and the pelvis and the spine more effectively. So timing that up a little later would be ideal, and that goes back to your Rory comment of creating the most speed past the golf ball. All right, so a lot of good stuff here, Ken. I think there's hope.
Okay.
Cool. Gonna do a little training?
Sure. Okay.
All right, so first drill for you. There's a little progression here, all right? This is a challenging drill, but it forces us to organize some of these pieces, move a little more efficiently. So what I'd like to see you do is we're going to basically take this trail hand, we're going to set it flat, and in a perfect world I could build in just a little bit of what we call wrist extension, not flexion. Okay, so I'm going to take this right hand, set the palm open, and I'm just going to line this down roughly the middle finger. And what I want to do from here, Ken, is just make solid contact. Right? So we'll start out with a little chip shot. And what you'll see here is when I finish, I still have this hand attached. All right? So the flippers and the scoopers, they're going to start tossing this club out. And they may try to grab it back with the right hand. But what I want is that constant contact. Okay? Now what's nice about this drill is as we start to master strike quality, we can lengthen the swing. Same thing, it's again forcing me to utilize my extension through the exit, continue to keep both hands attached. Obviously I'm not grabbing. And what this is going to do is reduce some of the twisting from the trail hand. It's also going to reduce some of this toss that we see early in the downswing.
Okay.
It will also help us to establish a little more side bend through impact, which couples with the rotation pieces that we want.
Okay.
If I kind of stand up out of it, I'll lose that trail hand. This thing will be on.
So this will help me get that shaft lean we're looking for.
No doubt.
Okay.
So what this does is it helps us to apply more linear force of the handle through impact, which is going to allow us to maintain low point control and also increase the shaft lean. The angular component would be decelerating the handle in an effort to allow the club head to catch up. So basically we're increasing the linear force, and there's a lot of good stuff happening here. We're having to organize the pivot, we're having to be in sequence. Furthermore, it's not going to allow me to move way off the golf ball in the backswing in an effort to then recreate solid contact. So multiple benefits. The progression from the open palm would then be what we call a pistol grip. So I would just grip it normal, completely remove the index and thumb, and then we can make bigger swings. So this is how this translates. Same thing, I don't want to be grabbing with these two fingers. These two guys tend to want to get in there and really control the face. So it's allowing me to square the face up more so with my pivot. And Hogan actually used to do this drill. Take these two fingers off, hold the finish, command the face, and that would be an excellent progression from the open palm.
I'll be interested to see that last swing in slow motion.
Mine?
Yeah, because you kept it in there the whole way through.
I did, yeah.
All right, so this is Ben taking us through that drill, and I'll tell you, I've been doing this in the backyard with the plastic golf ball, and I played this weekend. I did not score well, but I had, believe it or not, 15 quality ball strikes. I count them as I play, and that's a good number for me. I mean, it's not a great number for a pro golfer. It's a good number for me. So more from the guys at Integra Golf. We're going to start looking at what Ambrose is having me do for working out, so he and I will walk you through that here very, very shortly, and just a bunch more really good stuff. And then, of course, obviously my fishing videos too. I got a ton of fishing videos, fishing and boat reviews, so stay tuned, guys. Thanks for tuning in.